Hi and welcome back. Matt here with I'm Breaking It, and today we're going to be looking at and reviewing one of the sets from the newer line from the Star Wars theme, the Dagobah Jedi training set from the Diorama collection. This set, numbered 75330, contains 1,000 pieces and is priced at £70 or $80 US. Marketed as an 18 plus set, so solely aimed at the adult market, and is purely a displayable set, so there's no playability there or no movement or mechanics involved. It contains 3 minifigures, of which 2 are exclusive to the set, but we'll go through those in a bit. But before we look into the box art for this review, if you like to see more reviews similar to this one, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Anyway, let's get back into it. So the box has some beautiful artwork of an angle of the set on the front, with the title at the top, and there's a little symbol of a Yoda there, which I think is really cool. As I said, aimed at the 18 plus range. On the side, it's got some text at the bottom there that says Diorama Collection, so you can know and identify it as just being in the Diorama Collection solely. And on the back it's got another angle of the set with the minifigures carrying out another scene from the movie. Dimensions down there, 2 other stills of the set showing the interior, and another still from the movie of Luke trying to use the Force to drag the X-Wing out of the swamp. The first minifigure of the 3 that we're going to take a look at is the Dagobah Luke Skywalker, the main man himself. He's got the very clean kind of wet look to him, with back and front prints of his tank top vest. Let me just show you the back here. So it's just a small bit of detailing on the back there. No side printing to him, and a bit of leg printing. He's got 2 faces. The first one is this kind of startled, bewildered look, and the second one, as shown here, is a meditation face, which is a nice addition to the faces that Luke Skywalker has throughout the Star Wars series. This minifigure is the one of 2 that's exclusive to this set. The next minifigure is Yoda. There's not a lot to say about Yoda. He's a character we've seen before. In fact, this Yoda is in 2 sets, so he's not exclusive to this one. He's got a rubberized head, which helps with not breaking off his ears if you happen to rub up against him or move him too much in the set. He's got a bit of front printing and a tiny little bit of back printing of his robe there, and carries around his walking stick. Not a lot to say about that minifigure. And the last of the 3 minifigures from this diorama set is R2-D2. My favourite minifigure from this set, because not does he just have a front print, he also has a back print, which you've not seen before, and he is exclusive to this set, so it's amazing. But furthermore, all back, front and top dome prints have this muddied effect from being in the swamp. Of course, in the movie he was thrown into the swamp water, so we can assume he's just come out of that, still muddied up, and I think that's a really fantastic little bit of detail added to this minifigure, and I love to see it, and that's why he's my favourite. On the slight downside though, if you look really closely at the dome, the print is at an angle leaning to the right, which is disappointing to see, but from really far away it's barely noticeable. Let's now move on and take a look at the actual main diorama. It's a fantastically detailed build with a great initial appearance, and as I said before, there's no playability in here, so it's purely for display purposes, and I think they've done that really well. They've added a huge amount of detail, including some surprising aspects that you don't think initially that I'll go through as I talk through the set. So I just want to start by highlighting the outside of the set and the 2 plaques on the front. So you've got a Lego Star Wars plaque, obviously, and a cool quote from Yoda, "Do or do not, there is no try." The back edging to this diorama is similar to the architecture sets, and I think it adds a sleek and sharp finish to the edge of the diorama, added in with these silver great pieces to add that kind of Star Wars-ish effect, separating it from the look of the architecture sets. If we start from the opposite corner with the X-Wing here and work our way towards the hut. So the X-Wing is purely just showing a wing and a gun turret there, and I think it's a really cool added bit of feature to the set to give you the complete scene from the Star Wars movie. The X-Wing wing itself is at a really nice angle coming out of the swamps there, and you can create the diorama so it looks like Luke is using the Force to lift it out, or attempt to lift it out. He does it, requiring Yoda's help in the end in the movie. And the X-Wing is surrounded by translucent green studs and round dots to give it that effect that it's disrupting the surface of the water. Most of the surface of the swamp is made up of 2 different types of studs or tiles. You've got the square 1x1 translucent green stud, and there's 39 of those in random positions that you can use to fix bits of plants on and such. And then the rest is about 177, it's quite a lot, translucent green 1x1 square tiles. These tiles can be a bit of a pain to get on, or a bit annoying if you're pedantic about getting them straight and square, but if you're not, then it's quite simple to follow. The instruction book basically has a blueprint of where each tile and each stud goes, and you kind of just follow that. It's just a 2-page layout of the blueprint from above, like an aerial view, and it's really easy to follow because they're all on the same level, so you don't have to worry about going up or down levels, so you can kind of just put the movie on in the background and just keep putting these tiles in. It's a repetitive process, which I guess is the annoying bit, and again, getting them straight is also annoying. But if you're not worried or bothered about that, then it's a really simple way, an efficient and effective way to go about making the swamp. What I like about the swamp effect, and this draws back to that extra bit of detail they put into this set that you wouldn't think of or isn't necessary, is that the shading of the swamp is different, and that's not due to the lighting or shadowing from the X-Wing wing. It's due to the different colours of tiles below. So you've got white tiles below these translucent green that make it lighter than the brown or black ones over this side or over here. And I think that's just a really cool, and it adds an effect to the swamp that you just wouldn't think looking at the set when it's in the box. So it's a really nice touch to a bit of extra detail. So if we now move closer to the land with the set, you've got these variety of plant pieces going around with two-tone shades. You've even got some greener, curlier plants back here that come up the swamp. And they can be a little bit fiddly, or they can fall off the set when you're applying them, but if you follow the instructions you shouldn't have too much of an issue. And then moving on to things that fall off, we've got a snake just here behind Yoda. It just sits on loose. So if you carry this around, not that you should, but if you're moving your Lego set around, that might fall off, you might end up losing it. It's a bit annoying that they just didn't find a way of securing it and connecting it to the set. That would have been nice to see. But I guess it's okay, because you can move it around, place it around. There's a little bit of like extra wildlife in the set. In fact, other than the minifigures, it's the only other bit of wildlife. Moving to the back of the set, on the exterior of the hut, you've got a lamp there and a torch on some storage boxes that aren't actually storage boxes. You can't put anything in them. And then the only other bit of important detail on the outside of the hut, or not attached to the hut, is these translucent fixing just down here that you can use to make Luke float upside down like he's using the Force, and again reenact another scene from the movie. And I think that's a really neat touch, because it just adds that mind a little bit of playability, where you can create your own scene with the diorama, which just adds a bit of flexibility. And I think it's only 2 studs, but it adds a lot of change to the set, so they don't just have to be standing up, you can actually be hovering upside down. I think that's really cool. I'm so glad Lego had the intuition to add that in to give you that little bit of flexibility. So if you move on to actually the main part of the diorama, you'll notice that around the hut, which is built really nicely, it's a solid build. It's got lots of like natural curvings and shapes to it, and they've tried their very best to make it look natural, including the foliage and the trees behind. There's lots of different angles. Lego being square or at set angles can look quite architectural and buildingy. It is a building block after all, but they've done a really good job for making it look natural here, especially with the curved roots of the trees back here. They've done a fantastic job. They touch the base of the swamp, so they're not like hovering in the air. Again, another fantastic job. And they've done a really good job with the foliage as well, that you can maneuver to make it look less square and more natural. Once again, got these nice hanging vine pieces down the bottom here coming off of the main leaf pieces, but it's just a really detailed and natural look to the exterior of the hut. Speaking of the hut, you sadly can't take the roof off, and even if you could, you wouldn't be able to take much of the roof off because it's trapped by the trunk behind the hut. But you can't take it off to access the interior, and there is a very small interior with a couple of minor details, but I'll go through that in a second. But it's not a playable set, as I said once again, so you shouldn't really need to take the roof off the hut too often anyway. Another detail that's minorly annoying about the hut, I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but Yoda, being the smallest minifigure, can't actually fit or walk through the entrance of the hut. He's just too tall there. So if you wanted to get anyone inside from the front, you'd have to lie them down, and that's not a realistic diorama. So yeah, I know the entrance of the hut is small in the movies, but it would have been needed to make it slightly bigger so at least Yoda can fit through his own doorway, his own house. So if we go take a look at the interior of the hut, and I just turn this around, You can see firstly the back of the design isn't very neatly or nicely built, but that's fine because we're not going to particularly be focusing on the back of the build as you want it facing out to you. So that's not too big of an issue. I guess it would have been nice to make it look a little bit neater from behind, but again, you're not really going to see it. And if we look closer at the interior of the model, you can see that there isn't a huge amount of detail on the inside. Again, purely just for displayable purposes and accuracy, you have a tiny interior. So small that it's not really easy to move anything around in there without having to disassemble the top. So the key features of the interior, you've got a cauldron or boiling pot over there that's got a couple of green studs in that I guess are supposed to be like Yoda's food or Yoda's soup, and it's got a couple of like translucent orange and red tiles behind that, but again you can't see that, so I guess that was only for the purpose of the building experience. You have Yoda's lightsaber at the top, just there. You have a blue pyramid piece at the back there, which is a holocron. And in front of that you have a small little holo just here, which is supposed to be Yoda's bed, apparently. But Yoda doesn't actually fit in it, which is disappointing. He's slightly too big to fit in there at all, and I guess you could squeeze him in with difficulty, but you could end up damaging the minifigure. So again, small details. There's a better angle of where the bed's supposed to be, just down here. But yeah, small details, but yet again, not a huge purpose to them, considering you can't see them from the front. But I guess it's nice to be included in the diorama, and it's a bit of extra building experience. It definitely looks great, but it's certainly not to be played with or messed around. Like if that cauldron were to knock off or break off, it's quite difficult without having to disassemble it to get it back on its stud. And that is pretty much all I've got to say about this specific diorama set. I have purchased one of the other two, and I will purchase the third one when I get around to it, probably after payday next month. But yeah, I think it's fantastic where LEGO are going with these new diorama collection sets, and I think there's a load more that they could probably end up coming out with over the next couple of months or couple of years. I don't know how long they'll be going on for, but I think they're a fantastic display piece. Adults are going to love them, kids are going to enjoy looking at them. They might not enjoy the playability, but it's not necessarily aimed at kids. So yeah, I just think they're fantastic. This one specifically is my favourite of the three so far. It's the most colourful. Yeah, there's some annoying features to building it and some minor annoying building experiences, but overall it's got a great aesthetic and detailed look to it, and it's definitely more colourful than the reddish brown trash compactor or the grey trench run. And I think this one you get a lot more for your money, especially those two exclusive minifigures that aren't in any others. So for me, it's another great purchase, another fantastic set that LEGO released. And yeah, I didn't hesitate in buying this one. I picked it straight up. I got it with the Star Wars Day promotions, along with another one to get me over 100, that mark of 170, or is it 160 pounds. But yeah, fantastic set. Thank you for listening to my review of this set. If you'd like to see more reviews like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.